I am so stoked, it's not funny. This is the best touring setup I've ever seen. It's been a long time in between drinks with the 200 series build, but we're here again, and that means I've done a stack of work to it. You see, it's been down here in the Pinnacle workshop for a while, mainly to get a bit of a fit out done on the canopy, plus a bunch of other stuff. If you remember, the whole goal about this build was to make the ultimate tourer. Now, that's one of the whole reasons I went for a full-size canopy rather than a compromise with a half canopy and a bit of a tray. I've decided to go the full-blown canopy so I could fit everything I need in here to make this the ultimate tourer. So let me take you around this build to show you what I've done, and trust me, this will blow your socks off. Now, before Steve puts the drawers in here and mounts the fridge properly, I thought this was a perfect opportunity to have a quick look at the electrical system in this canopy. Now, Steve's a little bit of a wizard. You probably gathered that by now. Steve, run us through what we've got here, mate, because look, I'm not new to the Red Vision system, but this is one of the first times I've actually seen nearly every single component of Red Vision actually utilised properly. Yeah. So take us through, mate, the magic you've done.
Yeah, so we've set it up so that basically everything has a function and is working as we need it to. So we've actually utilised the temperature control so that you can see in cab while you're driving on the other Red Vision in the front there, fridge temperature, and also the actual temperature in the dog box on the other side. So when you've got the dog in there, you can see what's going on.
That is super cool. But one of the things I think I've noticed as well in my travels is, even though you can get apps for your fridges, some of these fridges these days and all the rest of it, it's nice to have one handy spot where you can monitor the temperature, like you said, not only of the fridge, but the dog box as well, mate. That's just going to the next level. That's not something I required in this build, but you've just thought about that, go on the next level, and it shows your understanding of Red Vision, mate. Also, water tank.
Yeah, so we've plumbed it in. Once we fill that water tank up, we're going to get to see the water level in there. So at any time from both screens, you'll be able to see what water level's in the tank. So not a lot of vehicles really get to show that.
Mate, that is such a handy function. Like, I was just in the Kimberley recently. I've got a 50 litre water tank in the Dirty 30, have not got any sort of sensor in that, so I can't monitor what the water tank's doing. When you're halfway through a big trip, you don't know if you've got, you know, this much water or it's nearly full.
No idea where you're at, right?
Very hard to manage it. This really changes the game for that. All the lights around the vehicle.
Yep, all your internal lighting is all controlled. The rear light is all controlled from your Manager 30. So particularly with that rear light, if you need some extra light while you're reversing at night, obviously you control that from the front as well. So it's all really universal. You can see where you're at. You can see what your batteries in the back are doing while you're traveling. We really like that about setting these vehicles up so that you can actually see what your auxiliary battery is doing while you're driving, what your fridge is doing while you're driving. Nothing worse than pulling up and your fridge is hot and your batteries are flat and you didn't know what was going on. You didn't know,
you've been driving for 6 hours and didn't know. Speaking of keeping charge, mate, solar panel on the top, I noticed that.
Yeah, so we've done the Red Arc 120 watt solar panel on the top of this. Should keep up with this system really nicely. We're not drawing too much most of the time. Obviously when you start running, you know, maybe induction cooktops or anything like that, you know, you might, you know, after a drive, that'll retop it back up again, but it'll certainly keep up with the fridge and all your lighting capacity that you're using.
Yeah, that's one of the things I noticed on the last trip as well. McKinley was a good shakedown for me as well, because it's 3 weeks living out of your back of your vehicle, so you really get to know what works and what doesn't. One of the things I noticed in the Dirty 30, I've got one of the best 12-volt systems in that. However, I don't have solar. Now, when I was doing, you know, a little bit of low range stuff, I wasn't getting the charge I needed. The guys that had the solar panels were just getting that constant top up when the sun was out.
Constant feed out.
And their 12-volt systems are in Mickey Mouse condition. Mine was, you know, a bit of a struggle to keep that topped up. If we talk about the batteries in this, I've got 200 amp hour lithium red arc batteries, about the best you can get.
Yeah, so you got miles of storage capacity, and they're the high amp output ones as well. So we're not going to be wanting for that output ability when we're running that 2000 watt inverter at capacity. Those batteries can handle it. So
I think that's a great tip as well for those guys thinking about lithium. You're trying to work out you basically need to work out what you want out of your lithium. Now, if you want to run high output sort of appliances like an induction cooker, even if you get a cheap 200 amp hour lithium, it's probably not going to cut it because it won't be able to have the output to actually run something like that. So you've got to make sure these are 100 amp hour batteries each. We've got two of them, and they can both have an output of 100 amps.
100 amps each,
so 200 amps in when they're both in series together.
Correct, yep. When you're pulling all that power out, 100%, these ones will handle it.
Now Steve, also the 2000 watt pure sine wave red arc inverter, mate. I've never had one that big in any of my vehicles.
Yep.
This pretty much means I can run just about anything.
Pretty much, you'll be able to run, you know, nice big induction cooktop if you want to go down that path. Pretty much anything.
Angle grinder,
hair dryer,
microwave, I can use a hair dryer.
I reckon a hair dryer will suit you just good.
With a setup like this, you can run just about anything. That's what I like about it, mate. Look, you could run a coffee machine. Not that I'm going to do that, but just basically, I know that no matter what 240 volt appliance I want to run, I could pretty much do it with this system. I want to show you something really neat on the back of this canopy, and it's something that we've incorporated into this build because it's very practical. I haven't seen a lot of other canopies with this exact sort of setup, but I think once I show you this out here, it's going to become very popular because I've got myself a 240 outlet and inlet in the back of this canopy. So you're probably thinking, what for? If I need to use an angle grinder or something like that out in the bush, I'm able to click straight into that without even opening the canopy and get 240 volt power. Same thing if I want to charge this, it's got a manager 30 inside. So I want to put charge into my canopy for my whole 12 volt setup. Maybe you want to take the canopy off and leave it in the shed, you can put power straight into it. And the cool thing is, plug it straight into there. So say you're at a caravan park, you want to keep your canopy all locked up but still get charged to your 12 volt, well, you can do that. I don't think I'll be at too many caravan parks anytime soon, but it's nice to know that when I get into the shed, I can get this thing on charge very easily without even opening the canopy doors. You're probably thinking, what do you need an outlet right here? Well, I did say this is going to be used as a table. Now, can you imagine you need an angle grinder or something like that out in the tracks? You've got 240 power right here. You know, you might be a bit fancy, you want to put an induction cooker, have one of those, you can sit it right here on this table, plug it in nice and easy. You've got a camp light up the top as well. So this all of a sudden becomes not just a tool bench, but also a touring/cooking bench. Something that I reckon is absolutely cool, and this is something that Steve and the team do on a lot of their builds. I thought maybe it's not that necessary, but after having it, I mean, think about this in a practical sense, the light that comes on straight away. So you're at camp, you've just got to camp, you open it up to get something out. You don't have to turn a light switch on or anything. You've got light in every single under tray storage box in the vehicle, including the ones on the body, there's light. So, and they're activated via a little switch here, so as soon as you open it, they automatically come on. I reckon it's the little touches like that that make this thing such an awesome touring machine. Have a look at this. I mean, this is an absolute work of art. Steve's put the drawers in and finished it all off, and you know, it was looking good before, mate, but now when it's all together, it's one of the best touring setups I've ever seen in my life, and it's the little things that make the big difference. Obviously, it's one heck of a rig, but let's go through a couple of little things that just stand out here. If we look at what we've got here, is one massive big drawer. We've got a shelf to put things on. We've got another shelf up here. The lithium batteries are up inside the shelf as well, so maximising every square inch, because a lot of people would put them behind a fridge and, you know, sacrifice a smaller fridge or make somewhere down in the canopy, but that little spot right up the back, up the top corner.
Hard to get to, hard to utilise for yourself when you're actually trying to stack. You might as well have the space down here where you can actually access it and get to it, so having them up there out of the road where you're not going to be storing stuff anyway, it just makes sense.
Exactly right, and you can get away with that when you're using lithium batteries. They're so light, you can put them up the top, which is really cool. We've made the most of every square inch. Now, if we can open this drawer up, I want to show you this. This is really cool. Never in any touring setup have I seen a drawer that can open up to its full extent. It locks out as well. I reckon that'll just be the perfect little setup. I'll be able to access everything, and that was one of the, I suppose, one of the requirements that I have, and I suppose a lot of people have when they're trying to design a touring setup. If you can't access every single thing inside that setup within about 15 seconds, well, in my opinion, it's not organised enough.
Yeah.
Now, have a look over here. This is a finishing little touch you might not see. We've got an air hose, we've got a compressor in there, and an air hose on a retractable cord. So, again, just saving that little bit of time. Like, oh, where's my air hose? Oh, it's under 5 things. Nah, you want to pump your tyres back up because you've just been down on the beach. Well, it takes about, I don't know, less than 15 seconds, that's for sure. And look at that, and easily retracts straight back in. One little issue though, Steve. You know, I don't want to nitpick, mate, but we've actually made it so bloody easy to use that every single person in my convoy is going to be pulling up the side. When it comes time to air up, well, they're all going to be right next to the 200, mate.
You're going to be last to air out. That's what's going to happen.
That's exactly right. You know, I didn't want 25 drawers and this big elaborate setup. I wanted a real simple one that just worked really well. On the other side, we've kept most of that open. Obviously the dog box, I'm going to be putting dogs in there, so we've got it pretty much vacant for putting a lot of, you know, bulkier camping items.
Yep.
Also got though the hot water system out the back, so you know we'll be putting awnings and stuff on the vehicle. That's the next round of mods probably, but for now we can have a hot water shower anywhere in Australia. I mean, this is living life.
Dangerous, mate.
I know, I just can't wait to take this thing out now. How good is it, eh? So in the interior, we decided to go for a bit of a minimalistic design and basically have all the functionality you need in a touring vehicle with less clutter on the dash. Now, we've gone here for a red arc gauge. Now this is just the EGTs and your boost gauge. It's all in one as well. Fits in quite neat and it gives it a nice little factory look as well. Another really cool thing that the 200 has, and look, I've done it before in the Dirty 30, but this time I reckon we've got it right, because in the Dirty 30 I've got the red vision, but it's mounted behind me, so you can't really see it as you're driving. Now on the 200, we've got the red vision screen right here, so as I'm driving, I can monitor exactly what my 12-volt system's doing. But it's a lot more advanced than that. You see, we've implemented red vision to its full potential, but basically if I want to see the temperature of my fridge, if I want to see the temperature that my dogs have inside the dog box, well, it's all available right here at the touch of a finger. Not to mention to see how much charge is going in and also how much discharge is happening. So you can basically keep on top of everything at a finger's touch away. Another really cool thing you'll see, the GME radio, we've finally mounted that properly. We went through that in the last video, how basically everything's hidden behind. You've got the XRS Connect on a magnetic holder, which I think is the absolute bee's knees, right here, so it's easy to grab when you're talking. If you're driving around town, you can actually just get that, put that in the center console, and it's not a worry in the world. So that's a really cool feature I like about the XRS Connect. Another cool thing, you can't even see it here because it's hidden away, but it's really easy to access. I've got a CAP Industries bracket holding a fire extinguisher. Now every single build out there, in my humble opinion, needs a fire extinguisher. It's one of those must-have things, I reckon, if you're touring. But also, I think a lot of people fail to have it in a place where it's easily accessible. This one here is on a quick release bracket right under the passenger seat here. So basically, the passenger or even myself can lean over, grab a fire extinguisher in a matter of seconds, which I reckon is really important. Righto, starting up front, the first thing you might notice is this bash plate under here. It's a custom off-road bash plate. It's a full length one as well. It covers the auto box and basically everything vulnerable on the drivetrain. Now, I like the fact that it is very thick alloy. It's going to protect everything under there. Also, it's very easy to install. I actually installed it in my shed in about an hour or two with a couple of basic hand tools. And I reckon it not just looks good, it's going to protect the big 200 on those big outback trips. Now, another thing you'll notice about the 200 is we've actually upgraded the brakes. The thing is, a lot of people forget about this when they do modify a vehicle, put a lot more weight into the vehicle, they compromise the stopping power of it. 200's got big brakes, but putting the Bendix Ultimate four-wheel drive kit through it is going to make sure that every time you hit those brakes, you know the confidence it's going to pull up. Now you'll notice that it's got bigger Bendix four-wheel drive brake pads. These things make the vehicle stop. 79 series in particular, they suffer from bad brakes. You chuck this kit in and it makes them stop on a dime. Also you'll notice brand new rotors all round. They're slotted and also dimpled. It's going to make sure that this thing does pull up. It's got braided brake lines right through it. Just a really good upgrade, especially if you're going to put more weight into the vehicle like I have. Now, I don't think any build's complete without an aftermarket exhaust. They don't get much better than this one. I've got a twin Manta system, DPF back, which looks absolutely insane, but more importantly, gives a nice little note and also lets that big diesel breathe. Now, I've chosen Manta because I've got them in all my other vehicles. They're Australian made and they're just made really well. So this suits a big 200, gives it a nice little note, and I can't wait to drive around in that because I tell you what, twin system on a big V8, count me in. Well, I've got to say, Steve, massive thank you, mate. You and the boys here, I mean, I knew when I dropped the 200 down here, it's in not only good hands, but these guys, they live and breathe four-wheel driving, so they understand what we do. So you can, I came up with a couple of ideas which I scribbled on, literally on the back of a beer coaster. Steve went to the next level on this and did a lot of things that I didn't even think of. So it's just, when you combine that sort of expertise with, what I already had in my head, you get something like this. Well, there you go, guys. I am so stoked. It's not funny. This is the best touring setup I've ever seen. Now, I'm not just saying that. I've seen so many touring setups, but for as far as I'm concerned, this ticks all my boxes. I mean, I could live out of this vehicle for 3-6 months. It doesn't matter. It's got everything I need. And the cool thing about it, I think, it's quite a simple, practical setup. It works for me. Now, I want to see in the comments below, what is the coolest touring mod you've ever seen on a vehicle? It might be yours or mate's vehicle. Let us know in the comments below. Pretty keen to go through that. But for now, the only thing left to do, put a bit of camping gear in this thing and get off the blacktop and hit the dirt because I need to take this thing camping. I'll see you next time at Full Drive 24/7.
Oh mate, I tell you what, there's adventures and then there's this halfway across the Jurek. We're not even a fifth of the way through this track right now. This is epic!
We're very remote in the Kimberley right now, and I'm driving a really deep water crossing. This is as sketchy as it gets.
The most remote part of Australia, in my humble opinion. The Umbulgari track. I'm so excited to be back up here.
But this is something we can't fix, so we're in a bit of a pickle right now.
Heck of a lot to go yet. Look, to be honest, this is real life. I don't know whether we're going to make it. I don't know what's going to happen here.